So you want your buddies to start playing some Commander with you. I totally get it, but also I get the not wanting to get them decks because they can be upwards of like $200 to $500 sometimes if you're going with list online. And when you're buying like Commander products that are pre-cons, they can not only be a little difficult for a new player to pilot, again, pretty pricey. And even the products that were specifically designed by Wizards to be starter decks for Commander, again, 30 smackers a piece, and the concept of dropping $120 for you and your friends to play like the first game of Commander, introduce them to the format, just for them to maybe be confused, but not even that. Maybe they just don't like it that much. That's a thing us Magic players have to accept. When we introduce our friends to this game, they might just not like it. And you just dropped $120. And sure, you got 4 new precons if your friends don't want to like sell the stuff back. But I think there's a better way to approach this. And as always, I'm the one that came up with it and fixed it. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's all right. When it comes to making decks that are a specific niche strategy with really intricate synergies like most Commander decks are, that will confuse a lot of players. Wait, that's true. It's been almost 2 years since you've been here, but sure, wallet's back, I guess. So we don't even have to like just get like specific strategies and interactions and then like powerfulness out of your head when you're trying to introduce people to this game, because it's not about that right now. It's about having them understand the format, understand the rules and the game, have fun, and introducing enough synergy and power in the list so that they can be like, ooh, that was fun. Is there more stuff that does something along the lines of that? Or if the opponent does something that another opponent likes and is like, ooh, I really like what that guy just did, door just opened. You can go ahead and start introducing him to a bunch of different aspects of Magic. So instead of basing these decks off of specific strategies, we reverted back to the base state of every deck in Commander and Magic, which is aggro, midrange, control, and originally combo is the fourth one, but doing combo on a $10 budget, which yes, that's what each of these decks in today's video is going to cost, is extraordinarily difficult. It is possible technically, but also I run into almost no combo decks when I'm playing casual Commander. Combo decks are kind of boring because you're literally just doing nothing but trying to set up that combo, and I just think they're bad for new players. So we went ahead and swapped that one out and replaced it with Voltron. I know that seems weird, and we're not going to dwell on this point forever, but Voltron just seemed like a good fit to me because it plays similar to combo. It kind of sits in the background, tries not to become a big threat until it can set up a board state to be like, oh, I don't know if you guys know this, but you're out of the game now, and you're out of the game now. While also being able to do stuff in the early game, because Voltron commanders tend to come out a little bit early or mid-game-ish, as opposed to combo decks that are like, pass. Yeah, go ahead and pass. Pass. I'm going to play this thing that just my stuff can't be countered. No reason. Pass. Pass, pass, my turn. One combo piece, pass. Like, you know what I mean? That's not fun for like a new player. There's not even that much interaction. You're kind of just like, are like stopping their interaction and then just comboing. Plus you need tutors for a combo deck. I could go on forever of why like combo decks in like how they're actually supposed to be built isn't the best idea for a $10 list. With these 4 blanket strategies in mind, the concept of this video is to design a Commander deck for 10 smackaroonies that can fit under one of these categories, providing gameplay that fits into that said category while also introducing enough minor synergies and semi-powerful plays to introduce new players to the concept of synergies and powerful plays in a way that's not so overwhelming. Let's hop into it. Keep in mind the prices on these decks fluctuate pretty drastically, seeing that like most cards are 20 cents or under, so if a card shoots up to 30 cents and another card shoots up to 60 cents, all of a sudden your deck's sitting at like $11 or $12. Ballpark though, $10. So the first deck we're going to talk about is the Introduce Your Friends to Commander $10 aggro deck. $10 aggro deck. So before we jump into the first deck, I do want to say a little precursor. I play tested all 4 of these decks against each other multiple times, and it's kind of wild how even the win rates spread out. Some games, the aggro deck would just take home the game extremely quickly. Some games would make it to the mid-game where the mid-range deck would completely take over. Sometimes the control would have just enough protection to make it to the late game so it could win. The Voltron deck, while winning the least amount of games easily, never felt behind and always felt like exciting to be like, oh, this could be the turn I get the one shot. So I can honestly say these decks are balanced to play against each other, and honestly built to play against each other. So let's move into deck number 1. Introduce Your Friends to Commander $10 aggro deck. This deck is focused around Arabella the Abandoned Doll being a red and a white for a 1/3. Whenever she attacks, she does X damage to each opponent, and then we gain that much life and X is equal to the amount of creatures we control with power 2 or less. Yes, it's just as busted as it sounds. Absolutely disgusting. Almost every game, it felt like this deck was going to win way too quick, and I'm like, I might have to gauge this. But then that control deck came in with a little, came in with the like board wipe. No one could do anything. The aggro deck, done. Arabella seemed perfect to me because her whole theme is just play Arabella, swing, swing, swing with all your small creatures. There's just enough weenie synergy in here with the whole power 2 or less thing that you can introduce some powerful mechanics and themes to players while still just being a straight up aggro deck. So obviously the deck's going to run some ways to create tokens because putting tokens on the board is just a great way to get more bodies with power 2 or less to make our Arabella trigger for a ton of damage. So we've got cards like Raise the Alarm where you can create 2 1/1 human soldiers. You got cards like Goblin Fodder to make 2 1/1 goblins. You got cards like Gather the Townsfolk where you can make 2 1/1 humans. These are really good because right off the bat it's a 2 mana, make 2 bodies. Oh, look at that. My Arabella is pinging everybody for 3 and I gain 3 whenever it attacks off of just playing one of these, and it gets so much worse from here. How about a Siege Gang Commander making you 3 goblins and it itself being a 2/2? Not enough? Beetleback Chief. 4-drop, makes 2 goblins, it itself a 2/2. We got some ways to make massive amount of creatures like Assembled a Legion. Go ahead and pop a counter on that bad boy on your upkeep and then spit out a number of 1/1s equal to the number of counters on it. That won't get out of hand extremely quickly with Arabella. Oh, and Arabella doesn't care about the number of like attacking things you control with power 2 or less. Just you control. That's it. Don't even have to be attacking with them. Absolutely gross. How about a Jolly Balloon Man, which chat was talking about on the live stream? Somehow a 40-cent card. Absolutely insane. Do you want to tap Jolly Balloon Man and then make a token copy of, oh, I don't know, maybe the Siege Gang Commander we were talking about earlier, or the Beetleback Chief? $10 deck, folks. And then someone in chat brought up that we should introduce 1 or 2 political cards into each of these lists so that people can get introduced to that aspect of Commander. Absolutely love that idea. So for this list, we put Tempt with Bunnies in here, which is 2 and a white. You make a 1/1 bunny, you draw a card, and then each opponent can do the same thing. And then for each opponent who did, you do that again. So at worst, just like a semi-white card draw piece that also makes a body, good for our deck. People will quickly learn like how those cards are kind of cool because people might be like, oh yeah, each of us will do that and not connect that means you draw 3. And then that person's like, cool, I get 3 more rabbits, draw 3 more cards. Then everyone's like, ooh, maybe next time I won't do that. You know what I mean? I think these are cool moments for new players to have. Totally agree with the chat. Great addition to these decks. $10 budget. A lot of the stuff that you're going to recommend for these decks isn't going to meet the budget. Like Impact Tremors would be great in this deck. Weirdly enough, like 80 plus cents is too expensive for one of these lists for a single card. But in this list in particular, we did manage to fit in Raid Bombardment and Molten Gatekeeper for the budget. Like Raid Bombardment is 2 and a red enchantment. Whenever you attack with something with 2 or less power, you can then ping a planeswalker or player that creature's attacking. So this is going to be a ton of damage with our, Raid Bombardment and Arabella on the battlefield at the same time. Probably not going to win the game. And Molten Gatekeeper is 2 and a red for a 2/3. It pings opponents whenever we have a creature ETB, which is going to be great in this deck. And it's also got Unearth for 1 red, so if someone deals with it, we could have a sneaky Unearth play and ping everybody in the graveyard. Might be a little too advanced for a new player, but if they end up finding it and being like, oh, wait, I can do that from graveyard? Cool moment. As far as small power synergy is concerned, we've got Cleaving Skyrider, which is 2 and a white for a 2/2 flying flash kicker, 2 and a red. When it enters, it does X damage to any target, where X is the number of attacking creatures we control. So if we swing with a big enough board and then flash this in with kicker, might be able to take someone out pretty easily with how wide our board states get. Goblin Tunneler providing unblockable for our small creatures is really good. Ragged Playmate doing the same. Norin Swift Survivalist is sick, being 1 red for a 2/1. Whenever any of our creatures are blocked, we get to put them in exile and we can cast them from exile. So for all of our non-token creatures that are attacking, we feel pretty safe attacking with them because even if we get like a bad block, just bounce it back to hand, we're fine. Starry-Eyed Skyrider provides flying to a creature when it attacks while also giving all of our tokens flying, which I just feel like is a ton of evasion. Super cool synergy, really simple to understand for a new player. Love it. Couple of suggestions from the stream that were way too good to not add to this list. First, we got Kirill, Attentive First Year, being 1 and 2 hybrid Boros for a 3/3. Tap 2 untapped creatures you control. Copy target triggered ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. Oh wait, is Arabella a triggered ability? Oh, it is? And all the cost is tapping 2 creatures in a go wide deck? Absolutely gross. We also got recommended Bree of Clan Stout Arm, which is actually disgusting in this list, being 2 a red and a white for a 4/4. Pay 1 and a white, tap it. Another target creature you control gains lifelink and flying. Already right off the bat. We'll take both of those. Evasion for our Arabella and then some lifelink. Oh wait, does lifelink affect when creatures deal non-combat damage? It does. Cool learning moment for a new player. Also extremely powerful with Arabella. Actually nuts. And then at the end of your turn, you get to like exile off top till you hit a non-land card, play it for free if its mana cost is equal to or less than the amount of life you gained this turn, which with the Arabella interaction, it's probably gonna be, honestly. With some really powerful board wipes that protect our weenie strategy, like Dusk and Dawn, or board wipes that completely lean into it by giving us more bodies, like Marshall's Coup, you got a super strong aggro deck to introduce a friend to this format. Also, some of you guys might say, there's a shit ton of basics in these decks. They're $10 decks and 30 to 40 cent lands. Not making the cut, especially in 2-color decks. You'll notice that all these decks are 2-color decks. One of them's mono, because I had some foresight here. I'm not going to be able to have a $10 budget with a 3-color deck. Not going to happen. Plus, the idea isn't to buy these decks and then go play them at your commander thing. The idea is to buy these decks so you can introduce your friends to the game in an easy way, and then if they want to like upgrade them and stuff after that, look at that, you and your buddy are looking through binders together, trading cards. You're giving your buddy some of your favorite tech. Oh, so good. If you want to take a look at the full list for any of the decks we're going to talk about today, the links are down in the description. You can take a look at the card draw, mana ramp removal, look at some test hands, all that good stuff. Anyway, let's move on to the Introduce Your Friends to Commander $10 mid-range deck. This mid-range list must be a serious banger, because on the live stream, we got a comment of someone being like, screw waiting for the video, dude. I'm building that mid-range list tonight and giving it to my buddy. I might be paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what they said. So our Introduce Your Friends to Commander $10 mid-range deck is based around Bellow, Bard of the Brambles, being a 1, a red, and a green for a 3/3. During your turn, non-aura enchantments and non-equipment artifacts you control become 4/4 elementals with haste, and whenever they deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. That's not at all busted at all, and also not at all perfect for mid-range, because Bellow's not really like a specific strategy. It's just like, hey, play good like 4-drop plus enchantments and artifacts, which most of the time are really, really, really good mid-range cards, and then animate them into big creatures that you can smash face with in the mid and late game. Actually perfect. This deck starts in a weird place though. We're going to start with ramp, because this deck runs 23 pieces of ramp. First reason being, it's mid-range. All of our stuff's going to be like 4, 5, 6 drops. Our commander literally only cares about 4+ drops. So we're going to need to run a lot of those. And if we run a lot of those, we're going to need to run a lot of 2-drop mana rocks, because turn 2 we play the 2-drop mana rock, which then lets us have 4 mana on turn 3, so we can play the 4-drop artifacts and enchantments, which might sound complicated, but when a new player's playing, it's not difficult at all just to see, oh, I have a 2-drop that adds mana. I'm going to play that. My turn again? Play a land. Oh, I've got 4 lands. I'm going to play this. That's not difficult, but it is very, very fun, because when you can turn 2 a Wandertail Mentor, and then turn 3 play a land, tap your Wandertail, tap all 3 of your lands plus your Wandertail to go ahead and play a Prismatic Undercurrents. Sure, go ahead and tutor up 2 more lands and put them into play tapped. Oh, also, you can play additional lands during your turn. Oh, what's that? Next turn, you're going to play Bellow for 3 mana, but you can also play 2 additional lands, so you'll have enough mana to also drop another fat artifact or enchantment that costs 4 or more, then animate all that with Bellow. It's very, very fun. And again, I make things sound more complex than they are. This deck's incredibly intuitive. While you're playing it, you'll understand. So on top of the deck running massive mana ramp, tons of 2-drop mana ramp, so we can ramp into 4-drop enchantments, or just 4-drop mana ramp that can also be animated by Bellow, we're going to have a ton of mana by turn like 3, 4, 5. Now, what are we going to use all this mana for outside of playing the aforementioned mana ramp, playing Bellow, and getting some good swings in with 4/4s? We're going to play some crazy enchantments and artifacts. How about Sandworm Convergence? 6 and 2 green enchantment. Creatures with flying can't attack you. And at the beginning of your end step, here's a 5/5 worm. That'll win games, because keep in mind the Sandworm Convergence is an enchantment that costs 4 or more. So Bellow's going to animate that too, as well as you making 5/5 worms. Chat really came in clutch last night. You recommended so many bangers that actually fit into the budget. It's crazy. One of my favorite in here though is Use Social Engineering, being a 3 and 2 green enchantment. Whenever a land enters, you get a 2/2. That's doesn't read like it's that great. It's got Warp for 1 and a green, meaning you can play it for 1 and a green, but it's got to go to exile at the end of your turn, and then you can cast it from exile. But it stays in play, right? While it's warped, and still counts as a 5-drop enchantment, because it is a 5-drop enchantment. Oh yeah, Bellow can still animate that. So in this deck, this is literally a 2-drop 4/4 haste. When it deals damage, draw a card from Bellow that you can then play a land with to make a 2/2. I really like Arietti's Tempting Apple in this one, being a 4-drop artifact. When it ETBs, you get to gain control of a creature an opponent controls, and it gains haste. Untap it, and it gains haste. It's literally just an act of treason on a 4-drop artifact. Wait, a 4-drop artifact. Yeah, so Bellow's also going to animate this. So you play this, take the best creature someone controls, animate your Apple with your Bellow, swing with their creature and your Apple. Now, on top of the mana ramp getting animated and on top of these big value pieces getting animated, there are some just straight up ways to win the game in this deck that are nuts. Something like Berserker's Onslaught being 3 and 2 red that gives attacking creatures double strike. It's a 5-drop enchantment, so it itself will get animated by Bellow and then provide double strike to your whole board full of animated enchantments and artifacts. Actually disgusting. Or something like Collective Inferno getting recommended on the live stream being very good, because I didn't even take into account when Bellow animates these artifacts and enchantments, he changes their creature type to elemental. So if you play Collective Inferno and then name elemental, all your animated stuff's going to be doing double damage. And outside of the double damage enchantment, something like Gruul War Chant's really good, being a 5-drop enchantment that provides all attacking creatures we control a +1/+0 and menace buff. That's not going to be at all incredible. And outside of the mana ramp, we run some additional ways to help us cheat into play some of these big artifacts and enchantments we run. Something like Raiding Schemes lets all of our non-creature spells we play have connive, meaning you can go ahead and tap a creature that shares a color with it and then copy it so we can get 2s of all these massive artifacts and enchantments we're playing. It seems good. Plus, again, it's a 5-drop enchantment. You really can't go wrong with this. Or something like a Tali Primal Storm just being a big 6/6 beater that cheats off the top of everyone's deck. You're going to be hitting fat stuff plus whatever everybody else has. This is also just fun for a new player to experience. And the political card we decided on for this deck was Tempt with Mayhem, being a 1 and 2 red instant that will let us copy an instant or sorcery spell on the stack and then choose a new target for it. But each opponent can also do the same thing. And for each opponent who does, you get to do it again. This one might be a little difficult for a new player, but again, the idea of these decks is that one of the people playing is probably going to be a friend that knows about the game. This one might need a little bit explaining. I will be honest with that one. You even got board wipes that can get animated by Bellows, like Nev's Disc, which is like, yeah, that's great. We need board wipes in our decks, and being able to animate one of them, hell yeah. Again, if you want to look at the full deck list for any of the decks we're going to talk about today, you can check those out down in the description. Introduce that last deck to your friend who likes to eat a lot, and introduce this next deck to your friend who loves collecting dolls. Because we've got the Introduce Your Friend to Commander $10 control deck coming in. The $10 control list is built around Hilda the Icy Crown, being a 2 white and a blue 3/4. Whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, you may pay 1 to choose one of the following. You can create a 4/4 white and blue elemental, you can put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, or you can scry 2, then draw a card. Damn, that's a good control commander. So yeah, $10 control built around Hilda seems very doable. We're trying to just control the board state, control what spells people play, until we can set up a board state of our own where the value we have accumulated and the control we have dished out is enough to skew the game in our favor. We'll get into some more specific win cons when we get into this. So the first and most important part of this deck, we need ways to tap our opponent's creatures to trigger Hilda. Now we can run just like early game creatures that do this, which are really powerful. We've got stuff like Blinding Mage, being able to pay 1 white and tap to tap target creature, or a creature like Gideon's Lawkeeper, which is 1 white, 1/1, pay 1 white, tap it, tap target creature. These are really good options as you have a guaranteed source of tap. It only costs you 1 mana. Some of them cost like 2 in the case of cards like Fanbearer. But even that isn't that much for you to just tap one of your opponent's things, pay an additional 1 to your Hilda, and then create a 4/4. Or if you have enough of these little tap creatures in play, go ahead and activate Hilda's ability to give your whole board a +1/+1. Or if your hand doesn't have what you want in it, activate Hilda's Scry 2, draw a card. It's actually busted. We've got some cards that will straight up just tap multiple creatures, one of them being a really fun political piece with Trap the Trespassers, 2 and a blue. Each player chooses a creature that we don't control, and then everyone reveals the creature that they chose, and each creature that was chosen gets tapped and a stun counter put on it, meaning it won't untap during its upkeep. You'll have to remove a stun counter instead, equal to the number of votes that creature got. So great way to tap multiple creatures, also great way to shut down threats at the board, because if the whole table agrees that that one big creature over there is the biggest threat and they all choose it, it'll get tapped with 3 stun counters on it. Pretty sick. Also just like fun political card. I think this will be like super fun to play with. Or a card like Downpour, being 1 and a blue to tap 3 creatures. Now keep this in mind, that will activate Hilda 3 times. So if we play Downpour and tap 3 big threats, we could then follow that up with 3 colorless to trigger Hilda 3 times and make 3 4/4 elementals, or draw 3 cards, or put 3 1/1 counters on our full board, or any combination of the mix and match of those options. And of course we've got just straight up tap everyone's stuff. A card like Sleep will tap all creatures target player controls and they don't untap during their next untap step. That's a lot of Hilda triggers, especially against the aggro deck we talked about. Or a card like Turnabout, where you choose a permanent type and then it taps all cards of that type. And of course it's Hilda's deck, we have to run Hilda's Icy Crown. It's also unbudget. We can pay 1 to tap it to tap a creature, but during our turn that's free. And we can also pay 3 to sacrifice it and to draw a card for each tapped creature. Past this, we're just trying to control the game. We're going to counter anything we don't want to see hit the board with counter spells like Negate that counter a target non-creature spell, or Refute, which will counterspell and let us draw a card and discard a card, along with straight up removal, like Run Away Together, which will bounce 2 creatures that 2 different players control, or Disenchant, which will blow up an artifact or enchantment. All of this to control the board state until we can accumulate enough of the 4/4 elementals and enough 1/1 counters on them and enough card draw from our Hilda to bring home the game. Outside of that very viable way to win the game, we've got some more straightforward ways to win the game. Someone on stream recommended Junkwinder. And this is exactly why I needed to go live, because I would have never thought about this card, okay? It's a giant serpent. It's a 5/6 that costs 7, but it costs 1 less for each token. So every time we make one of these 4/4 elementals, this thing will cost 1 less, okay? So theoretically, this thing coming out for like 3-4 mana isn't unlikely. It then has, whenever a token enters on our side, we can tap an opponent's creature and it doesn't untap during our turn. Yeah, our 1/1 starting to make 2 with this guy. Holy thank you, chat. I would have never thought about running this card. So with Hilda, you can play this, and then the next time you make a token with Hilda, you make that 4, you pay 1 when you tap something, you make that 4/4 with Hilda, it'll enter, the 4/4 token will, trigger our Junkwinder to tap an opponent's creature. We'll tap 1. Oh, a creature just tapped, so we can trigger Hilda again. We'll pay 1 to trigger Hilda to make a 4/4 elemental. That when it enters, we'll tap another creature, which will trigger Hilda, so we'll pay 1 to make an elemental. As much mana as you're willing to dump into that, you can keep getting Hilda triggers. Absolutely disgusting. Thank you for shouting this one out. I also put Tromo Kratos in this deck, which seems weird because it's just a big 8/8 crab that has hexproof as long as it's not attacking or blocking. But the thing is, it can't be blocked unless every creature the opponent you're swinging at controls blocks it. Again, are you getting this here? So if you tap 1 creature, which is so easy to do in Hilda, that is 1 creature that is no longer able to block Tromo Kratos. So guess what? All their creatures they control can't block Tromo, so he's unblockable if anything's tapped. So start bashing people for 8 damage straight up if anything's tapped. Actually gross. And then after it's done attacking, it has hexproof again, so they have to deal with it with an instant speed during combat. Pretty sick. Another insane recommendation from the stream was Fear of Sleep Paralysis. I hadn't even seen this card in the set, if I'm being honest. 5 and a blue, 6/6 flying. When Fear of Sleep Paralysis or another enchantment you control enters, or you fully unlock a room, tap up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Put a stun counter on it. That's not the good part here. The good part is stun counters can't be removed by your opponent. Yeah, so the creature we just put that stun counter on is going to be permalocked, and the 7 other tap spells we run that put stun counters on stuff are also going to permalock. That's insane. And then they said staple it onto a 6/6, why not? The deck also runs Fractured Identity because I felt like this was a great way to win in a control deck. 3 a white and a blue sorcery, exile target non-land permanent. Each player other than that permanent's controller creates a token that's a copy of that permanent. It's a really cool political piece. I feel like it ends up winning you games, especially in control, because not only do you control this powerful thing you just exiled, and so do 2 other people that are probably on your good side now, you have the control to back up and protect that token. So pretty good. Or you just got a good old-fashioned Darksteel Reactor. You want to play a 4-drop that gets a counter on your upkeep, and then once it reaches 20, you win the game? That's good old control. Game goes long enough, everyone at the table's like, we got to bring this home quick. Control deck's over there ticking away with that thing. Incredibly good control deck. Again, $10, kind of nuts, monkey butts, auto trucks. If you want to see the full deck list for any of the decks we're going to talk about today, again, you can check them out in the description. With that, let's move on to the 4th and final Introduce Your Friends to Commander for $10 deck with the Introduce Your Friends to Commander $10 Voltron list, baby. Our $10 Voltron list is based around Yahenni Undying Partisan. This 2 and a black 2/2 has haste. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, it gets a 1/1 counter. That's going to trigger an insane amount. And also sack a creature, give Yahenni indestructible. That's going to be good against the board wipes and removal the control decks running. It's really cool. Their little rock, paper, scissors between these decks is actually kind of sick. Yeah, any of your opponent's creatures die, Yahenni's going to get bigger. If anyone board wipes and you just sack a creature to give your Yahenni indestructible, it'll get a ton of 1/1 counters off that board wipe. And then all of a sudden you're a huge threat. So everybody has to really watch how they're playing spells, how they interact with different themes and strategies. I think it's a perfect way to introduce players to the game. Specifically, introduce players to Voltron as well. So seeing that this is a Voltron deck, we want Yahenni to get big, and Yahenni's first ability is gonna make him big. We run some additional ways to make him a serious threat in this deck. Twisted Embrace seems like a great option, being 2 and 2 black, an enchantment aura that gives enchant creature +1/+1, but when it enters, you get to destroy target creature, which destroying a creature counts as a creature dying, obviously, so Yahenni's ability is gonna trigger and put a 1/1 counter on Yahenni. This is essentially a 2 and 2 black, give Yahenni +2/+2, and blow up a creature when it enters. We also run Brass Knuckles, which can give Yahenni double strike, which absolutely disgusting in this list. Dealing double damage with Yahenni, gonna get out of control very quickly. My favorite buff card in here is Eternal Thirst, being a 1 and a black aura that literally just gives Yahenni a second one of his first abilities. So every time something dies your opponent controls, go ahead and give Yahenni 2 +1/+1 counters now. Somebody on live stream recommended Demonic Embrace being a 1 and 2 black enchantment aura. Enchant creature gets +3/+1, has flying, and is a demon in addition to its other types. You may cast Demonic Embrace from your graveyard by paying its mana cost and 3 life and discarding a card. Make Yahenni a giant flying demon. That's probably going to be good. Of course, the deck runs Rogue's Passage as one of the lands in here because giving Yahenni unblockable is kind of a big deal. Along with Lash Writhe, because 1/1 for each swamp we control in a deck that runs like 37 swamps. Sure. And it equips for paying 4 life because it costs 2 Phyrexian black. Absolutely gross. That's going to make Yahenni such a threat, it's not even funny. The live stream also recommended we throw a couple lands that can animate themselves into play, like Mishra's Factory or Spawning Pool, as if we don't have a creature to sack to Yahenni, we could then just animate one of our lands and sack that land to Yahenni to give him indestructible. So this is kind of like a cool back pocket protection for Yahenni. I really like that idea, so they are in here. Past this, an important thing of note is we run 11 pieces of removal, and all of them say destroy because triggering Yahenni is important, along with 2 board wipes. Now, we talked about having creatures to sack to Yahenni, so like, what are those? These are going to be creatures that are easily played out of graveyard, or cards that can easily put creatures from graveyard back into our hand. So first things first, creatures like Blood-Soaked Champion, which can be cast from the graveyard as long as we have tacked this turn, or Skyclave Shade with a landfall ability where we can cast it from graveyard if we played a land. Those type of creatures are going to be fantastic. Think Reassembling Skeleton. 2-drop 1/1 when it dies, you can go ahead and pay 1 and a black from the graveyard to return it back into play. These are great to just cycle in and out of grave so that Yahenni constantly has a creature to sack. So pretty much Yahenni's always got indestructible, and you'll come to learn that threatening indestructible is actually way more powerful than having indestructible. I also really like Liliana's Devotee. Being a 2 and a black 2/3 gives all your zombies +1/+1. We don't really care about that part. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died, you can pay 1 and a black to make a 2/2 zombie. So like we can almost constantly be cycling that 2/2 zombie into play with either it dying or another creature we control dying. It will really help us keep a creature in play that we can sack to Yahenni. Or something as simple as Back for Seconds will let us return like 2 of those 2-drop creatures that we can cast from graveyard for 3 mana. Just kind of some neat tech in there. All of this is going to help us maintain protection for Yahenni over the course of like the full game. And you might be asking yourself, from what I said a little bit ago about the fact we run, I think I said 11 removal spells. Yeah, 11 removal spells. Well, we also run 12 spells that cause our opponents to all sack a creature. So there's really like 23 removal spells. I just separated them into 2 categories. So we run the creatures that when they enter cause each player to sack a creature, like Fleshbag Marauder, Demon's Disciple, Accursed Marauder, Plague Crafter, or Merciless Executioner, as all of these will cause each player to sack a creature. We just sack the creature that we played to cause that ability to happen. Each opponent sacks whatever they want. That's 3 creatures dying because each of our opponents just sacked a creature. Yahenni will get 3 1/1 counters. They're just very, very good. This is why we also run edict effects on spells, like Innocent Blood being 1 black, each player sacks a creature. That's going to be good. But there's some big splashy cards that can do the same each opponent sacks effect that we're looking for, like Virtus's Maneuver being 2 and a black for a sorcery. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend returns a creature from their graveyard into play. Each foe sacks a creature. And we do that for ourselves too, so we'll be like, I'm a friend. I'm going to go ahead and get one of my creatures back into play. All you guys sack. Yahenni gets 3 counters. And there you have it. If you want to take a look at any of the full deck list, again, we've got the full Moxfield deck list down in the description. If you end up picking these decks up and playing them with a couple buddies that you wanted to introduce Commander to, please let me know how they play and how your friends liked them and if they ended up getting into Magic, because that would be sick. Let me know when you first started Magic, which one of these decks you probably would have ended up picking up. If you want to drop a like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff, it helps out a ton. If you want to hit that bell notification, that would be awesome, because I've had multiple people reach out saying that they're not getting notified my content is going live. So do that. And of course, if you want to show me a little additional support and throw me $1 over on YouTube members or Patreon, that would be very nice. Huge thanks to all the patrons and YouTube members you can see on screen right now. And with that, I'll see you guys Sunday. Peace.